Welcome to Channel 18 News. I'm Jim Rogers. She said her name was Cynthia Morris, but with the odor of marijuana emitting from the vehicle and from her person, several things did not seem correct to the Hopkins County deputy that made the traffic stop on West Shannon Road. The woman handed the deputy a clear plastic bag containing a green leafy-like substance believed to be marijuana and her backpack. In the backpack were 4 credit cards with the name Cynthia Morris and a large sum of U.S. currency secured by rubber bands. She stated that she had obtained the money by selling herself. In further discussion, she presented her proper identification. Her true name was Sierra Monique Ch.18, age 28, of Chicago, Illinois. Ch.18 is in Hopkins County Jail, charged with possession of fraud, use, possession identifying information, more than 5 but less than 10 items, a felony 3. She's also charged with failure to identify giving fictitious false information and possession of marijuana less than 2 ounces. The Northeast Texas Beef Improvement Organization is cooperating with the Silver Springs Livestock Commission and will host 2 big net bio sale events to kick off 2018. The first of the new year will be the regularly scheduled net bio preconditioned stocker and feeder calf sale on Wednesday, January 17th. The second 2018 sale will be Wednesday, February 21st, the newest addition to the net bio annual schedule. Both sales will begin at 1 p.m. and will be held at the Silver Springs Livestock Commission auction. The second sale, slated for February 21st, has been added to the net bio schedule due to the increased demand for organization members wanting to sell their preconditioned calves and yearlings. The consignment book on the January 17th sale is closed. Nearly 8,000 head of cattle will be sold. Producers have already consigned more than 2,000 head for the February sale. Like all net bio sales, these 2 sales will be broadcast on the internet, and Silver Springs Livestock Commission will be accepting bids at lmaauctions.com. Internet buyers should register in advance in order to bid. For more information on these sales, call 903-885-2455 or visit their website, sslivestockauctions.com. No bids for the purchase of 110 and 118 Main Streets were received by Hopkins County Commissioners Court Thursday morning. Commissioners were meeting in a work session to discuss bids received and would have taken action on the bids at a later session of the court. However, according to County Judge Robert Newsom, no bids were received, but he does expect an item of interest to be on the agenda for next Monday's court session. The county-owned properties on Main Street currently house the district attorney and district clerk offices. The county commissioners are wanting to sell that property to build a new facility to house the district attorney, district clerk, and also a 100-seat courtroom. Kendall Scudder, Democrat candidate for Texas State Senate District 2, introduced Beto O'Rourke, a 3-year term congressman from El Paso and Democrat candidate for the U.S. Senate. He will face Ted Cruz in November should he receive the Democratic nod. It's been over 2 decades since a Democrat has won a statewide election in Texas. However, O'Rourke, who is taking no PAC or special interest monies, is seeking to change that fact. In a poll conducted this week, Cruz has an 18-point margin over O'Rourke if the election were conducted now. O'Rourke is making a whirlwind tour of Texas counties as his first step to introduce himself across the state.
No PACs, no political action committees, no corporations, no special interests, just the people of Texas, 254 counties, 1 county at a time. We're visiting all of them. We were just in a part of the state that you all refer to as West Texas. We in El Paso call East Texas. Odessa, Midland, Amarillo, Brownfield, just the best people anywhere. And we're finding them everywhere, every single part of this state. And it's the greatest joy of my life, outside of being married to Amy for 12 years and having 3 amazing kids, to join forces with so many great Texans who want to do what is most necessary at the most important time in this country's history, I would argue in the last 150 years. So this is our moment of truth. And whether it's fighting for health care or jobs or immigration reform that matches our values or interests, or get this, taken back our democracy so that it is people who are being represented and not corporations and special interests. That's the way that we're doing this. That's the way you are doing this. And so you give me so much hope and optimism. You are so encouraging to me and those who are helping to run this campaign. 10,000 people have signed up to volunteer on this campaign across Texas so far. This race will be won by the people of Texas. And I just want to say thank you for being here, for welcoming us here. And I want to, if Cynthia will give us a little bit of time, part of the reason I came here was to listen to you, not to have you listen to me. If you've got a suggestion, a question, an idea, something that you want me to know about Sulphur Springs, I'm here to listen and to learn. And if not, I will repeat everything I just learned on Wikipedia about the courthouse. Constructed in 1894, 1895, it's this neo-Romanesque architecture, firm out of San Antonio. It's actually, we saw it as we drove in. This main street as we came through, this courthouse, the flag in the city square. This is just beautiful. This is just awesome to be here. But tell me what's on your mind. Raise a hand, speak out, and let's have a conversation.
I was in Greenville, raising my hand and get the turn to ask questions.
Great.
What is your view on refugee situation? You as a country of immigrants, and we are sitting way back there on refugee acceptance or support. So where do you stand on that issue?
Yeah. So you think about the fact that we are the greatest country on the face of the planet in the history of the world, at least in my opinion. What helped us to achieve that? What has distinguished us across the world? It is the fact that for 230 years, we are one out of many. That if immigration's a problem, as you heard me say before, it's the greatest problem this country could have, comprised of asylum seekers and refugees and immigrants the world over who chose us. That is the source and explanation of so much of our success. Part of the reason I'm running is the absolute absurdity of having a president who wants to deny the ability for all Muslims, which was his promise during the campaign, from being able to immigrate or seek asylum in our country. We would do that at our own peril. We would lose out on the potential, on the wisdom, on the expertise, on the experience that everyone from any of those countries that he's proposed in his travel ban could bring to this country. So I want to raise the cap on refugees that we accept. By the way, refugees are among the most vetted immigrants that we accept into this country. It's very hard to come here as a refugee. We have the capacity. We're the wealthiest country in the world, the most powerful. We can certainly do it, and no one benefits more from accepting refugees than the United States in terms of what those refugees do for this country. So that's my position. That's I think a Texas value that we represent. Thanks for asking. Yes, ma'am.
What do you think is going to happen on the CHIP program, and why are the Republicans trying to use the CHIP program as a bargaining tool for whatever they're up to?
This is part of the craziness in Washington, D.C. Our approval rating, and I'm a member of this institution, 9%. Communism, 11%. Chlamydia, 8%. We're in this sweet spot, explained by the fact that we don't do the very obvious basic things that are no-brainers. 400,000 kids in Texas have parents who earn too much to enroll in Medicaid, not enough to afford private insurance. 400,000 kids. CHIP is the program that allows them to see a doctor, afford their medication. We had to renew it at the end of September. We're months now behind, and it runs out of money and authorization on the 19th of this month. And so for me to get my vote to keep ensuring that we're funding this government, ensure that we do everything that we said we were going to do, we have to look out for the most vulnerable. It's good for those CHIP beneficiaries. It's great for Texas to take care of them preventatively, proactively, allow them to see a doctor instead of rolling them into an ER or losing their lives completely, which are the consequences for kids who can't see a doctor, who need to see a doctor. So CHIP has been a bipartisan priority in every single Congress until this one. And so I'm going to try to do an even better job of listening to my Republican colleagues and find out what it will take to get them to reauthorize CHIP. But that absolutely has to be a priority going forward. Other questions, comments?
I have a question for you. My opponent always calls me a one-issue candidate because all I talk about is our public schools. I was wondering what role you believe that the federal government plays in our public schools, more particularly in stopping school vouchers.
Yeah, so this tax bill that just passed, adds $1.5 trillion to the deficits and to the national debt. Those tax cuts will go to the very wealthiest. We mortgage your future, and more importantly, your kids' future, to send money to people who are already really rich and have too much of it. Ted Cruz's contribution to this tax bill cost $500 million and allows already wealthy parents to send their kids to private schools tax-free. Who makes up the difference? Everyone else, especially those 90% of us, and I'm one of them, who send our kids to public schools. That money will leave our public school classrooms, our public school teachers, and go into those private schools. Además, he wants to also move forward with private school vouchers. 51 senators voted to confirm Betsy DeVos as our Secretary of Education. Ted Cruz was the 51st vote. People ask, what difference does a senator make? That one senator, that one vote could have made the difference on school vouchers, taking money away from our public schools, our public school teachers, our public school classrooms. So that's my position on vouchers. We absolutely got to stop it.
I do have a concern. I don't know what role you would play in that. When I was in high school, there were students that wouldn't eat because they wouldn't allow it because we have to pay, for the lunch and everything like that. I just think that's ridiculous because then they complain about how students are doing good in school, but then they forget that they're not feeding them.
They're too poor.
They're too poor to.
All this stuff is connected. You have a president whose budget not only cuts things like the State Department by 31%, but cuts SNAP, the nutrition programs.
They want to help out the rich more than they want to help middle class and poor.
And it's all connected. How do you learn when you don't have enough calories or fuel in your system to process what's coming in and to produce what needs to come out? Healthcare, being able to be healthy enough to go to that class or to be able to teach that class. All of this stuff is connected. Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Corporations got large tax cuts, but at the same time, they have not funded their pensions. Where do you come out of that?
Yeah. Somebody pointed out at a town hall in Odessa last week, if you just move the corporate tax rate up to 25, not where it has been before, but not as low as it's proposed to be in this new tax bill, you would generate $400 billion to the Treasury that you could use to invest in education, in food programs, in healthcare, whatever it is, and also to make sure that we hold those accountable. I was just meeting with, I don't know if we have him here from the last meeting, somebody who worked on the railroads, a retired railroad employee. Don't screw with my pension was his one command for me as I left. Social Security beneficiaries who paid in their entire working lives, we know that as soon as the next decade we will not be able to fulfill 100% of our obligations along this current trajectory. I signed on to the Social Security 2100 Act that raises the cap on which rich people pay into the Social Security Trust Fund. It makes it solvent well into the next century. So absolutely, and then corporations have a responsibility to those who ensure that they were successful, who made those profits possible to fund their pensions. And we got to make sure that we hold them to that same standard.
They're not doing that to teachers having problems with their pensions.
Retired teachers, TRS, you have not seen an increase adjusted for inflation in more than a decade. And to paraphrase George Washington, your ability to recruit the best and brightest is dependent on how they see those who've already served being treated. And we're not treating our retired teachers very well in the state of Texas. Yes, sir.
Not only we appreciate you being here, I want you to commit to coming back after the primary. I know you got
Absolutely, you got it. Yes. And you guys,
let us bring you a crowd.
let's do it. And you all work on the weather. And we'll absolutely do it. Thanks for having us out here today.
Here's Don Julian with sports.
Both the Wildcats and the Lady Cats soccer teams began the regular season Thursday in separate tournaments. The Wildcats are competing in a 3-day Forney tournament. The Wildcats played West Mesquite and Forney on Thursday. Both are teams that the Wildcats could possibly face in bi-district playoff action. Friday, the Wildcats will play Royce City, another possible bi-district foe, and also Amarillo Tascosa. Wildcats soccer coach Nikki Wiggins was on KSST Radio and Cable Channel 18's Saturday Morning Coaches Show last Saturday, and he explained that the Forney tournament has a lot of teams in it from the Wildcats district and the district they face in bi-district play. The two districts get matched up to keep district teams from meeting each other. Meanwhile, the Lady Cats soccer team began play in a 3-day Terrell tournament on Thursday. They faced Balch Springs Christian Academy and Lindale on Thursday. The Lady Cats will compete against Athens Friday and Garland on Saturday. Lady Cats soccer coach Joel Bailey was also on KSST Radio and Cable Channel 18 TV's Saturday Morning Coaches Show last Saturday, and he said if all goes as planned, the Lady Cats should have a nice long run in that Terrell tournament.
Thanks for watching Channel 18 News. Have a great evening.